So it's that time of the year again, meaning it's the start of my end of the year videos, and I decided to kick things off with the very first video that's been on my mind ever since it occurred to me that a lot of the series, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of the series I had planned on reading at the start of this year, I then ended up not reading them due to various reasons, and I figured 2020 is definitely going to be my year to catch up on a list of backlist titles. So yes, that is the purpose of this video, to share the 20 series I absolutely want to either finish or be all caught up on by 2020. So before I start talking about this series, please note that these are series that maybe one I've never started at all, or maybe I've only read one book in the series. If it's a trilogy, for example, and I've already read 2 books, and like the 3rd book is coming out next year, for example, the Devabad Trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, then definitely, of course, that is automatically assumed I'm going to finish that series. No, these are book series that either I've not started at all, or maybe I've only read 1 book in the series, and there are many more books, and I need to finish them. I will start things off with the Strength Jemma Duology by Laini Taylor. Now, you all know earlier this year I read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I was told that Strength Jemma is even better, that her writing is more lyrical, more beautiful in this series than in Daughter of the Smoke and Bone trilogy, and also that there are cameos of characters that were in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy in this series, in this duology. And absolutely, I started it, I only read like the first 5 pages, but I wasn't in the reading mood when I started it. I was about entering a reading slump, so I had to put it down. But 2020 is absolutely the year where I would read this duology and see if I would love it even more than I do the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. The next series I intend to read in 2020 is the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch, starting with The Lies of Locke Lamora. Now, I've heard so many great things about this book. My very good friend Anna over at Snow White Reader really loves the series and said that it's exactly like Six of Crows. Like, if I love Six of Crows, I would love it. And you all know how much I love that duology, so I just figured that, oh, it makes perfect sense for me to pick it up, but I never got the chance to read it this year. So 2020 is absolutely the year when I will start this series and hopefully love it as much as everybody else. But I've heard so many great things about this, and the characters are actually morally grey, slightly playful, but with that dangerous side, and apparently there's like a strong bond of friendship in this series as well. And these are lots of things that I really love, all laid against the backdrop of fantasy and a city where for you to actually survive you have to be as brutal as you can be. Like, there are so many things I have been told I would love about this series, so I definitely want to read this in 2020 as well. Another series I want to read in 2020, the Enquiries series by Christine Ciccarelli, starting with The Last Namsara. Now, Brittany over at Brittany the Bibliophile loved this. Like, she read this first book last year and really loved it, and that was when I decided I was going to get it this year. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to read it this year, but I have all the 3 books in the trilogy, so I know next year shall be a binge reading year for me. Now, this is a series I absolutely don't know a lot about. I was told that it's best for me to walk into it blind, but I do know that there's apparently this miscommunications with regards to a particular group of people that everybody else in the world has always treated badly and assumed bad negative things about, and apparently there's a dragon, and like, so many things work for me, but primarily because Brittany loved it and I can't wait to read it. And also I got the character art because I did the pre-order for the Sky Weaver, and all those characters just had me very intrigued. I definitely am interested in seeing how the story plays out. So, the Enquiries series by Christine Ciccarelli. The next series I want to read in 2020 is the Magician series by Lev Grossman, starting with, of course, The Magicians. Now, you all know I really love The Magicians TV show. I was really heartbroken about the way in which the last season ended, but the new season is starting in January, and my very good friend Mila sent me this just after the end of the last season because I was so heartbroken. She was like, trust me, Nora, that the books definitely end better. So I'm interested in seeing if it does treat it better. I've been told that a lot of people compare this book to Harry Potter, but it shouldn't, because, you know, the themes are darker, the cost of magic is even more intense, more painful, and they are definitely, this is an adult story, but it is a school of magic, to be precise, graduate school. And I love the TV show up until the last season, like I said. So I've been wanting to read this, and 2020 is definitely the year when I'm going to read it, because based on the rumors I've heard, this TV series is probably entering its final season. So I want to definitely be all caught up before that happens. So Magician series by Lev Grossman. Another series I want to read in 2020, The Bone Witch Trilogy by Rin Chupeko. This already speaks to exactly what this book is about. There is a character that can legitimately raise the dead. In fact, the story starts with her raising her brother. I've always wanted to read it. I have a fascination for bone witches and necromancy and necromancers, and people that walk that fine divide of being at crossroads of both the living and the dead. And I've heard that some people love this, some people hate it. I sincerely hope I belong to the camp of those that love it. But whatever the case may be, 2020 is definitely the year when I will finally read this series and see exactly what the hype is about. The next series I want to read, which is unfortunately a series I don't have at the moment, is the Ark of the Sight series by Neil Shusterman. I've heard really, really great things about it. It's a dystopian society where death has been, like, the natural causes of death has been eradicated. As such, there are these people called Sight whose job it is to prune off the population and kill people, because if not, people will live forever, and like resources are limited, so people do have to die. And I've heard that it's a great series. A lot of people that I love, whose opinion I trust, absolutely love the series, and I cannot wait to get into it. So 2020 will definitely be my year of reading the Ark of the Sight series. 2020 is also the year when I intend to finally finish A Darker Shade of Magic Trilogy by V.E. Shaw. Now, I read the first book, this particular book of the series earlier this year, but I never got the chance to finish the rest of the series, and 2020 is absolutely the year when I intend to finish it, not just because it's going to become a TV show, but also because I've heard that the books just keep getting better and better, and I did find the first book interesting enough, and I was told that the second and third book even surpassed that. So I can't wait to read it, and I also have a body read all set up to ensure that I actually do read it in 2020. And yeah, so I absolutely cannot wait. Another series I want to finish in 2020, The Villains Duology by V.E. Shaw. Although I've heard that this is eventually going to become a trilogy, something about Victoria announcing the fact that she's writing the third book in the series. So yeah, I absolutely must finish Vicious. I love superheroes, I love villains. This book has them both. And then there's the third Victoria series that I want to finish in 2020, and that is the Monsters of Verity series, starting with This Savage Song. I have heard so many great things about This Savage Song and the Dark Duet. It is, I think, a middle grade series, but it's told so fucking well. And you all know how much I love middle grade fantasy. I think The Girl Who Drank the Moon probably was like set the bar really high for me. So I've always been fascinated by middle grade stories, especially middle grade fantasy. And this is apparently Victoria Schwab giving us a bit of horror, a bit of mystery, a lot of fantasy, and a lot of her engaging, intriguing characters. So this is definitely a series I want to finish in 2020. The third series I want to finish in 2020 is the Diviner series by Liba Bray. I have heard so many great things about it. It's horror, it's atmospheric, it's set in the 20s. There's magic, there's so many representation. The world building is fantastic. It feels like you're actually living at that time period. And I've heard so many great things about it, and I definitely want to read it in 2020. I probably would listen to it on audio, because I've heard that the audio is really good, or I might just listen to it on audio while reading it physically and all of that. But like I said, I've heard great things about it. It seems to check so many of my boxes with regards to what I look for in a novel, in an historical fantasy novel. So I am all set, and 2020 is definitely the year when I'll be all caught up. And I think the last book in the series is coming out in 2020. So yeah, I absolutely have to be all caught up next year. The next series I must finish in 2020, the Shadow of the Fox series by Julie Kagawa. What can I say? This series apparently has a trickster kitsune shapeshifter, which I love kitsunes. I love trickster stories. I love shapeshifting stories. So this definitely ticks all my boxes. And she's protecting the scroll. There's an assassin who's been sent to acquire that scroll and to kill if need be, and so they are going on this journey because he doesn't know that she's the kitsune, nor does he know that she's with the scroll. And this, like, I love journey stories. I love seeing how characters' relationship evolve and change while they are stuck alone on a road for a long period of time. So I'm definitely really interested in reading this series. I want to finish it next year as well, because I've heard that the third book, something about is it the dragon? I can't remember the exact title, but I know that the last book in the trilogy is coming out in 2020. So this is one series I also want to finish next year as well. And then there's the A Study in Charlotte series by Brittany Cavallaro. I love Sherlock Holmes. I've always loved the stories. I love the character, and this is basically a spin-off of Sherlock Holmes, in that I think Charlotte is his granddaughter or his daughter or something, but she's also, she's trying to solve cases, and the son of Watson is also in this book. So I've heard that this book is fantastic. Rocky Over Had Blonde with the book loves the series. It's absolutely one of our favorite series. So it's a mystery, it's a contemporary, it has whodunit elements, it's based off of Sherlock Holmes. So many things I usually would love in a book. So I absolutely want to finish this series, and it looks like it's going to be a short, quick read. So definitely want to finish this series, starting with The Studying Charlotte next year. So yeah, another series I absolutely must finish in 20, or at least be all caught up with in 2020, is the Witchland series by Susan Dennard. I already read Truth Witch. I started Wind Witch, but I had to put it down because I started at the time when I was going into a reading slump, so I ended up not finishing it. But I absolutely must finish Wind Witch. Actually, what am I saying? I want to be all caught up with the series up to Blood Witch and wait for the rest of the books in the series. I started with Truth Witch. It was an okay read. I wasn't totally and completely blown away, but my very good friend Vendi over at Caught Between Pages really loves the series. So I'm going to give it another shot. So I'm definitely going to be rereading this book in 2020 and catch up with all the rest of the books in the year as well. So far though, I definitely love the relationship, the close bond of friendship between Isyut and Safi. I'm intrigued by all the different the way in which magic works in this world, the way in which the world was laid out, and I also am intrigued with all the political machinations and everything that is going on behind the scenes. And so we have no true idea of what's happening, even though we do have a vague idea, a vague sense of where it might all possibly lead. So even though I was not really captivated when I read this book, I was intrigued, and I'm definitely interested in catching up with the rest of the series, if anything, because like I said, Vendi really loves this book, and we have such similar taste in books, so I trust her judgment. And yeah, so I can't wait to finish it. Another series I intend to read next year, The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. This is fairy tale retelling, which I love, and it's a sci-fi spin on a fairy tale retelling, which I also love. So I've heard great things. I heard some people love Cinder and don't like the rest of the book. Some people like the rest of the books and do not like Cinder. I want to say exactly where I fall, but this is definitely a series I would absolutely finish reading in 2020, if anything, so that I can be ready for when the new covers come out, because those new covers are stunning and I definitely want them, but I don't want to buy them if I haven't read the book and if I've not decided if I'm going to love the series or not. So definitely must finish this series in 2020. Another series I want to finish in 2020, the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series by Jenny Han. I have read the first book in the series. I loved it. Totally and completely loved it. I watched the movie though before I read the books. In fact, it was the movie that had me going in search of the books and insisting I want to finish the books. And I know that the second movie is coming out soon, which means that I need to finish the rest of the series before the second movie drops on Netflix. But what can I say? I love Lara Jean. I love her relationship with her sisters. I love how relatable she is, and I love how it is that every single time I read this book, I totally feel what it is like. I remember what it was like to be 16 and having a crush on a boy and having a crush on several boys, and like the horror/mortification that Lara Jean must have felt the minute her letters got out. Another series I intend to read in 2020 has to be the Crazy Rich Asian series by Kevin Kwan. I watched this movie and I loved it. Of course, I do know that apparently the movie does the books better in that they cut off the needless things in the book, and it's a concise story and it's really enjoyable. But I totally and completely want to read this series and finish this series before the second movie comes out. And I think the second movie is coming out in like another 2-3 years, but which would of course give me more than enough time to read the series. But I absolutely want to finish it in 2020. So yeah, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Another series I want to finish in 2020, the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare. I have already read The Mortal Instruments. Technically, I think I'm like 2 more books to the end of the series, and I've also started the Infernal Devices. I have only one more book to the end of the series, so I absolutely do intend to finish. I do intend to read all 3 books in the Dark Artifices series next year, if anything, in preparation for when Chain of Gold comes out in March. I don't know if I'll finish it before Chain of Gold comes out, but I definitely want to be all caught up so I can categorically state and be like, okay, I don't like Cassandra Clare, or I find some of her books manageable. Because I did hear though that some people love the entry of this particular series, the Dark Artifices series, into the Shadowhunter universe. Some people hate it, so I want to see if this is what changes it for me, because Mortal Instrument was okay. The Infernal Devices technically was better, but I found it slightly more boring. So let's see if the Dark Artifices would be the better, for me, the best series in the entire Shadowhunter universe, which has a lot of books, if we're being honest. Like, Let's not lie, it has a lot of books. Another series I want to finish in 2020, the Darken series by Kirsten White. Another series I want to finish in 2020, the Conquest Saga by Kirsten White, starting with Darken. What can I say? This book is apparently a gender-bent spin on the Vlad the Impaler story, and it's a woman. She wants to kill every single one of her enemies, the people that have taken over a country, and she sets about doing it in the most brutal, manipulative, devilish way. And it's just angry female royals who would kill and manipulate and be as bloodthirsty, as anybody else. Just, it makes me happy. And like I said, it's a gender bent story. It's a gender bent spin on the story, and I know the story, and I definitely want to see how Kirsten White does it justice. And I've heard that it can go really, really dark and really, really brutal. But my friends who understand my taste in books have told me that I would love the series. So it's definitely a series I want to finish in 2020. And finally, there's Lifelike, the Lifelike series by J. Christoph. You all know I discovered J. Christoph this year, and all his books I've read, including the ones that he co-wrote, I've loved and really, really enjoyed. And I've heard that Lifelike is one of his better. It's not as appreciated as, say the Nevernight Chronicles or the Illuminate Files, but I've heard that it's really, really good, but it's underappreciated, and I want to see if I would love it. But it's J. Christoph. There's a very, very high possibility that I would love this series. And it just occurred to me that that's actually not the 20th book. No, the 20th series I absolutely want to finish in 2020 is or not finished but be all caught up with in 2020 is the Green Creek series by TJ Klune. Now one of my absolute favorite commenters, Vamp Rocks, kept mentioning this series, especially they were like, oh, you absolutely should read it, Noria, you would love it. So Wolf Song, Heart Song, I think Brother Song, etc. But they were like, absolutely read the Wolf Creek series. TJ Klune is a master of telling great stories, especially gay stories, and he's amazing. That's he being TJ Klune, the writer. And I'm just like, okay, do you know what, I absolutely would read the series. So I was meant to start it this year, but TJ Klune was having a bit of a problem with his publishers, that's Dream Spinner Press, and they were not paying him and all of that. So I know he was trying to get back the rights to his books. So when it was that Van Stock was like, oh, read it, I was like, I absolutely can, I absolutely will. But then I saw the drama that was going on with Dream Spinner, because those ones have not been paying. Like, I don't even want to get into that, but I saw the drama that was happening, so I was waiting for him to get the rights back, and I think he's gotten the rights back to the ebook. The paperback rights will come back to him soon. So definitely 2020 I would be buying all the books in the series, and I'll be binging them, and of course all the money will be going direct to TJ Klune, which is what I want for him and for his writing career. So yeah, those are the 20 books I absolutely do intend to read and finish in 2020. If it is that there's a series that you think I should have mentioned that I didn't, let me know down in the comments down below. Although I would state though that my next video is about authors I absolutely want to get into in 2020. So if it is that I didn't mention the series, it might just be that I am going to be mentioning the authors in that video, which would most likely will be dropping, all things being equal, by Sunday. So who knows, maybe the series you want to mention was written by an author I intend to get into in 2020. Like, if that makes any sense. But even if it is, drop it down in the comments below. If you end up like choosing a series written by an author that will be in the next video, I'll definitely let you know. But yeah, that will be this video. If you liked it, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos, subscribe if you want to. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.